I have your book here. I love it.
Ah.
And if you don't have kids, that's fine because we all have an inner child. And it's talking to our inner child. It's a beautiful book with see the resemblance, little Jennie on it. Um, like the illustrations are good enough for a picture book and the words just make it even more so because it's so heartfelt. But I think sometimes even as adults we need to hear it. So if your kids are grown like mine, it's perfect to read to your grandkids. But sometimes it's good for them to have this information before something happens because from a kid's perspective, a friend at school bullying them is as traumatic as your brother having cancer for you. It's just things we don't know how to deal with. And your book shows that you might not be able to do something about the bully, but you can change your mindset or think of something else or find another way to handle it that's empowering yourself. And it's also a great book to get and to read. And then you can donate it. There's so many, like you say, so many sick kids at the hospital, and most of them have siblings and they don't know what to do. They're in it. And so I think just buying it and donating it to a children's hospital, there's so much you can do to support. And I think you said that half of it goes to the red kite. Is it red kite? Is that just
Yeah.
coincidence?
So, when I decided to write the book, I I felt like I wanted to write a children's book. I'm very creative and I love pictures. So I hired an illustrator from the Ukraine, which again I'm so proud to be helping somebody from the Ukraine, with a job, and she's so talented, and she's just done the illustrations of my next book. And Yvonne, you must be able to read my mind because in my second book, Gail does get bullied. So you will you will hear that story next. But I decided that I wanted to share the story of how a sibling feels when when their brother gets cancer, and learning to fly the kite and finding courage. But I also wanted to use it not as a way to make money. I grew up as an entrepreneur with my parents, and sometimes everything you do seems to be, well, how can I make money? How can I make money? I didn't want that. I wanted this book to help people, and so I'm donating profits to the Red Kite Family Cancer Charity, which is from Australia. And I decided I wanted to donate it to a cancer charity that helped kids and also helped the siblings. And they had programs to help both both kids in the family. And while I was doing that research, halfway through writing the book, I came across one that was called Red Kite, and it was based in Australia. And so, again, I felt like the universe was just saying, this is it, and this is going to help me with the title of the book as well. So all of a sudden Jenny's kite became red, and I'm so proud to be donating money to the Red Kite Cancer Association, and they have been sending my books around to some children's cancer wards in the hospitals, which is amazing, so that those kids can be reading the books. So libraries, hospitals, and yeah, I'm just so proud that I was able to share that lesson that I learned when I was a kid, with others. And as I mentioned, the next book in the series is coming out now. I didn't name the character Jen or Adrenogen. I named the character after me, Gail, after Gale Force Winds.
I love
and
that.
and in the second book, Gail has a bunch of other friends, and they all learn to kite surf and windsurf and do all these wind sports. And each one of them has a name that is from another language, and is the name for wind. And so she finds her tribe of people after being bullied at school, and everybody's like, You know, you're best friends with the wind and teasing me for enjoying the wind, which is again a true story. All of a sudden, I found all these other kids that also loved wind, and we all became a community and helped each other, and we learned from a bunch of women called the Wind Warriors. And the Wind Warriors, again, is a true story. And these are some of the women that I've been inspired by, and some of the women that have come to my retreats and been coaches and helped share my message, and they share their passion. And so I'm really excited for everybody to see the next book in the series too.
Oh, that's exciting. And do you know when that's coming out? You said the illustrator just finished the pictures?
Yeah, the pictures are finished, the words are finished, and anybody who writes a book, it will relate to me in saying the formatting takes longer than I could ever imagine. The formatting actually took nearly 2 months for my first book, believe it or not. So hopefully it won't take that long, but I'm hoping to have the second book out at the beginning of the kite surfing season in May or June.
Oh, awesome. That's excellent. I just know when I was reading it, it's just even the picture you get into the story. You don't even have to visualize it in your head. The illustrator did that for you. And and they did such an amazing job. And I can't pronounce her name. It's not on the cover, but
I can't pronounce it either, so don't worry about that.
that's your
One
hero.
That's my brother, and there's an illustration in the back where you can see that Michael only has one leg. He has his crutches there, and he and I are flying a kite together. And you know, I was discussing this in my children's book group, and some of the parents are like, "Oh, my kids are going to be scared seeing somebody with one leg." But I wanted to make this real, and that was the reality of my life as a child. But what the feedback that I've gotten from people is they love. Have you got it there, Yvonne?
I do. I have to talk because I'm on speaker mode or speaker, and so you can see it. There we go. There's my Miles and Gail, their illustrated names. So,
And I
yeah,
called my brother's name is Michael, but I called him Miles because he holds the speed skiing record for a person with a disability, and he's so fast. He went 135 miles per hour, so that's where Miles came from. And the feedback that I've gotten is that the kids have really been loving after the story. There's a bio about myself and about my brother, and it talks about him getting gold medals in the Paralympics and all the different sports that he's done. And the kids have been loving seeing that even after losing a leg, you can do amazing, amazing things. So I hope that's inspiring those kids to believe that anything is possible. And I also put in there some wind and kite facts. So it's educational as well. And there's also a QR code at the back. And if you scan that, you'll get to a YouTube video of me teaching you how to make your own kite, Yvonne. So next time we meet, I want to see the kite that you've made, and they're actually really cool kites. They work great. I've made hundreds and hundreds of them with kids at schools around the world, and it brings them so much joy. You know, I remember last year when I was up in Alaska, I wasn't able to do any skiing because I was dealing with my brain surgeries. And so I made the decision I would go to the school and teach all the kids about wind and kites, and we would make our own kites. And they were having a great time. I was having a great time. And I went to the supermarket after class, and this lady came up to me and she said, "Are you the lady that taught the kids how to make kites today?" And I said, yes. I was wearing a hoodie that says "I love kites" on the front, so it was pretty obvious. Um, and And she said, I have to tell you a story. I said, great, I love stories. She said, well, my daughter has been super depressed recently. And every day I've picked her up from school this week, she has been in tears. And as a mother, it's just devastating to see her struggling like that. I'm like, yeah, I know the feeling. And she said, but today I picked her up from school and she ran up to the car, biggest smile on her face, and she was flying a kite. She's like, Mummy, look, I made a kite. And it gave the mother so much joy, and she had to come and share that with me, and I had a tear coming down my face because sometimes we don't realize how much impact something as simple as a kite can have on a person or even a whole family. So
That's a great, just that's just so great that the impact of it. And going back to when you said that some people thought, oh, the kids might be scared. I mean, they live in the real world. I know I'm Gen X, it's the real world. And if you're different, you get bullied, you get teased. And when you explain things to someone, you hear it all the time. I had cancer, I was so bullied at school. I had this, I was so bullied at school. And
yep.
I remember when I was maybe grade school, and there was someone in the class who had seizures, and they were out in the field having a seizure. And instead of anyone helping them, because as kids, we had no idea what to do, we didn't even know what a seizure was. This kid just about died having a seizure in the field with people standing around laughing. Nobody even thought to get an adult. Nobody knew to roll them over. Nobody knew what to do. And then when you fast forward to my daughter, same age as I was, there was a boy in her class who had seizures. And they taught the kids what to do. They didn't put it under the rug. They didn't do anything like that. They said, okay, they have seizures. They had a class. And I remember we were in the auditorium on awards night. And suddenly I just saw, it was near me, but I didn't even know what was going on. And these kids literally leaped out of their seats. They cleared all the chairs. They told adults, you need to get up. They made a big circle around them. They made sure he was flipped over. They found an adult that knew what was going on. That just didn't happen when we were younger. And it's because of education. And it's because we expose kids to things that aren't perfect. And kids that, I mean, what's perfect? The kid's perfect. The situation isn't. And I think that is just something so powerful that we didn't have. We did not have that growing up. We did not have the support. We didn't have knowledge. We didn't have Google. We didn't have YouTube. We only learned what we were taught in school and at home. And if they didn't know, like, why would my parents know what to do about a seizure? Then why would they teach that to me?
That's right.
And so I think more people should, especially people who have a sibling or themselves have a disability, because they might not be able to if they have the disability, depending on what it is. But I think the people around them should educate on their behalf. And it all starts when you are 5 and 10. It all starts with the kids' books, because that's when kids are sponge. That's when it's normal to them. For these kids, it was normal for this kid to have a seizure because they were taught that it was just the way it was. It's a medical condition. And I remember just thinking, wow. And I just thought to that girl on the field, because nobody told us.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a good point. So thank you. Yeah.
So I love that you're doing a bullying one next,
Yes.
and a superpower with the wings. I love their names. I have to find the next question. I think we've covered so many. Like,
oh, time's just flying, Yvonne.
it is.
I'm enjoying chatting with you, and I hope the audience is enjoying all these stories and lessons too.
And there was something I was going to ask you with kites, because we've obviously talked about it. It is your passion and your thing. But when you teach people how to fly a kite. And I know it empowers them, but when they're there and you see the change in them, what does that do to you?
Oh, you're giving me goosebumps just thinking about it, Yvonne. It is why I do this. It is why I continue doing this and teaching people to fly kites is because seeing them become empowered, seeing their confidence grow, and watching that is incredible. It's not something you get to see all the time, right? So a lot of that stuff happens behind closed doors or happens over such a long period of time you don't get to see it. But when I teach somebody to fly a kite, and it's a really obvious that there's a fear there. There's, their hands are tight, they're shaking, their eyes, and to watch them start to become comfortable and watch them start to smile and watch them start to be proud of themselves. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that feeling. Mm.
Well, I'm happy to. So, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Because sometimes we can be deceived with what we end up doing, how we actually are, and what we had to overcome or downplay to get to where you are.
I think that I'm an introvert uh, um, when I'm by myself, and I spend a lot of time by myself. Um, that first trip up to Alaska that I spent 12 months traveling in an RV by myself taught me to become my own best friend. And so when I'm by myself, I'm very happy to chat with myself, enjoy the things that I enjoy. But when I'm in public, I turn into this extrovert, as you can probably tell. I love talking, I love sharing my stories. And I suppose because I spend so much time by myself, when I get the opportunity to chat with people, I'm like, ah.
I think I love being by myself too as an introvert. And I'm finding for what I want to do, like when you see the calling, I have to overcome certain fears to get out there because you can't get your story across if you can't speak or write or promote your book. If you write the perfect book and nobody reads it, it'll help you, but it won't spread the word. And I just think a lot of introverts are where you're at now, where they had to overcome shyness or judgment because people are going to judge no matter what. But it's where you get to the point where you're like, that's okay. That's about them. It's not about me. And all that I need to do is help one person. I don't need to help everybody. I'm here for who's ready to listen, who can relate, who I can impact. And it's really a lot of times getting out of your comfort zone because we worry about the people who it's irrelevant to. They're not ready to listen. They don't want the information. And yet we worry about what they think instead of what the people we're helping think.
So true. Yeah, yep. So true. And I think that there are a lot of introverts that are on the stage speaking. So it's something that we can learn to do. I think that it's easy as an introvert to maybe create a persona or create a character that we pull up when we need to speak in public. And one of the things I've been working on is continuing to be myself and continuing to be vulnerable and sharing stories and sharing things that maybe I wasn't proud of back then, but I'm now at an age or a stage where I'm not worried about that anymore, and I believe that by sharing these stories that people can learn or be inspired by them. So it's a continual journey for sure.
It is. Find another question for you.
Go for it. Hit
Okay.
hit me with another one, Yvonne.
Okay. Because we all know you don't have a day job. So, like, what are your thoughts about having your personal and business life mixed? And how do you manage the work life balance when everything is kind of together?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think anyone's asked me that for a long time. Growing up with my parents being entrepreneurs and they worked together in retail, I grew up watching my parents counting their money and doing their bills on the kitchen table before and after dinner. And I watched them how they managed to have their work life balance and having holidays and being able to think having children sort of helped because they would take us skiing or sailing or something on the weekends or in school holidays, and that gave us a break from the work was important. But that also meant that when I grew up, I just thought that's how it's supposed to be. That was all I knew. And that's given me some good habits and some bad habits. My dad taught me that in order to save money, we should try and do everything ourselves. And that seemed like a good idea at the time, but I've now learned that we can't do everything ourselves. And we're not good at doing everything ourselves. And it's too much and it's overwhelming. And we can actually make more progress in our businesses and our lives if we get help, if we can have a team, if we can have brainstorming groups and communities and discussions. So, I've left that lesson that my dad taught me behind. What they did teach me is that when you have a partner in business, it's like a marriage. If you're going to go into business with somebody, you need to be prepared to marry them and have a prenup and have everything sorted out. So I don't know how many people are listening that have a partnership, and that's really important to watch whether you're having that fawn response and making sure that you have a very equal relationship in that partnership. Um, I'm very lucky that I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I do work as a contractor for different companies all the time. I have a job next week where I'm working as an MC for the Valdez Snow Machine Club. They have races and I'm their MC on the microphone, so I get to practice my speaking and go live on Facebook and do that. Then I'm teaching snow kiting as well and doing lessons. I'm also flying to New York in June and speaking at Columbia University on a stage. I'm writing books and selling those. I actually sell kites. I have a retail website, so I'm selling kites, and kites are quite expensive. They're more expensive than that garbage bag and a couple of sticks and a piece of string these days. You can actually end up spending two, three, $4,000 on one kite. And so I have a lot of conversations with people, helping them make their decision of which kite is going to be best for them. And I love that I get to work in my passion. And I get to talk about kites and I get to teach people about kites and I get to practice my speaking. I'm very lucky and very grateful that it doesn't feel like I'm going to work every day. I just get to go and play with my kites a lot of the time, which is awesome. My husband has been very grounding for me because he doesn't he doesn't want to work with me. He doesn't want to compete with me, which is amazing because I've been so competitive all my life in my sport and competing with my brother and my parents were competitive with, their opposition in business. My husband is he doesn't want to play that game, and I think that's been really good for me to know that we can't always be competitive. There can't always be a winner and a loser, and he has definitely grounded me in that, and I'm very very grateful for that. He's a heli ski guide, so he's out there today taking people up in the helicopter to have their dream come true and helping them find their courage. So I've managed to turn that once in a lifetime trip of coming up to Alaska to go heli skiing is now my life, and this is my 23rd season of being up here in Alaska in my dream location. So I feel extremely lucky, but it's very important that we are self-motivated, that we can get our days organized so that we can get our work done. We don't get distracted too much, and that we're achieving everything that we want to achieve. And when I look back at the last 12 months, I've written one book, my second book's nearly on the way. I've booked speaking gigs, I've got jobs, I've sold kites, and I'm living the dream, Yvonne, and I'm so lucky and so grateful.
And if your husband's a guide, he's probably living his dream too and doesn't even feel, he feels a supportive person instead of a competing person. And that probably
Exactly.
helps because
Hmm.
he's not going to his work and hating it. And you're going to your work and loving it. And I never thought about that. If one of you is doing what you love and one of you is not, that could cause a conflict, especially if they don't want to work with you or they want to work with you and you're like, no. It can be that way too. But I
Yeah,
also, yeah, I love what you said about the lesson you learned from your dad to maybe leave it aside because we're not the best at everything. We're just not. Like, do I know how to edit a video? No. Am I going to find assistance or am I going to spend 4 weeks trying to do it myself? I'm going to
that's
find
right.
somebody. I'm going to find somebody who knows how to edit a video. Actually,
Yep,
I'll probably just post it. If it's not our skill or what we love to do, it's taking away from what we actually love to do. And we can be
that's
so much more
right.
productive and you'll make more income by paying someone to do it right than you will trying to do it yourself. And I don't know if it's a Gen X thing, it's ingrained in us. If you can do it, just do it. But we don't
That's
get our
right.
time. We don't get our time back and we might not want to do it. We don't
Yep,
have to be good at everything. We should just do what we're good at because otherwise, if you like to learn a task and you could be okay at it, that's fine. But so many of
yep.
us are blocked because we're trying to be perfect. We're trying to do everything. We're not just saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to do the best I can, 70% perfect or done and just go with it. And then at a
Yep.
later time, fine, if you want it to be better, hire somebody who knows how to do the other 30%. But we're so stuck on, but it's going to cost money. You can get money a million ways you can get money, but you can only get time like right now.
That's that that's right. Something else I'll share with you, just like when I was saying, I love RVing in the wintertime up in Alaska, and you hadn't even considered that. The lifestyle that my husband and I live is not the norm. We do have a condo down in Montana that we live in. That's our base camp. But for the majority of the year, probably about 9 to 10 months of the year, we are living in RVs and vans. We do the van life, and we're living off the grid. Therefore, we're not paying rents. We have to put fuel in our vehicle, but our vehicle is our home, and we don't have children, right? And we're both health fanatics, and we love to eat organic food, so we don't eat out very often. I love to cook, so I'm cooking all of our meals so that we can eat well and we can stay healthy and we can have lots of energy. And so we make sacrifices in our life. Right now I'm living with no running water because all the pipes would freeze. We don't have any heat on at night. In fact, I think you might be able to see steam coming out of my mouth. So now you know how cold it is here. Um, and we make these sacrifices, but we love this life. It's a life of adventure, and we save money in some areas so we can experience life in other areas. And so there's more than one way of living life. And as I mentioned, I thought the only way was the way I learned from my parents, and I'm sure there's other people out there that see the example in their life and think that that's the way we all do it. But if we can think outside the square, think outside the house, and I love the RV and van life. You mentioned yourself, Yvonne, traveling around in a class B or C. I can't remember which
B.
one you said. B class, yep.
I haven't done it yet, but I've had some experience with it, and it was instant happiness. And people don't realize when they're used to a big house, and where I live, housing is crazy expensive. Like you have to be, to make ends meet, you have to be earning over $100,000, and that's crazy. So all you're doing is working. So you do need to look outside of the box unless you want to be trapped in that system. And a lot of people defaulted to van life, and then they're like, wait a second. I'm glad this happened because I'm happy. I'm happy now. I'm not stressed. I can actually make ends meet with my job. And it got to be so popular in different areas. And I'm finding, though, that it's that simplifying. It's not worrying about the dusting and the cleaning and this and that and the materialism. And it is a different life. And some people are completely happy spending time at the mall, doing all of that. So there's those people like us that are just simplifying everything. And other people are, that's not the life for them. And what's important is you do what works for you. You do what chooses you. If you want a big house, van life isn't going to work. And if you want van life, a big house isn't going to work. But it was the freedom. It was like when we're close to Banff and Lake Louise, and you can drive an hour and a half and there's actually parking. There's free parking if you have off-grid capabilities. And you're like, you can't sleep better than when you're out in the mountains. Like it's so amazing. And other people are like, yeah, I can. And my daughter, she moved to the mountains when she was 18, and you couldn't call her back if your life depended on it. Like,
why don't we do top 5 questions in 2 minutes?
Okay,
let's go.
Favorite recipe, favorite thing to cook.
Favorite thing to cook is vegetables for breakfast.
Okay. Favorite book and author.
Favorite book and author, Gail and the Red Kite of Courage, and the author is Jennie Milton.
Okay, perfect. I love that too. Favorite artist and song, because I'm going to make a playlist.
Oh, right now I am loving Pink, and she has a song called Courage.
I love Pink. Okay. Favorite movie or show to watch?
I do. I'm really loving MasterChef. I love watching MasterChef and getting some cooking tips.
Perfect. And your favorite place to visit, I think, is in the background, but you can tell us.
My favorite place to visit is Alaska. Yes.
Okay. And bonus, what's your life motto or favorite quote?
My favorite quote at the moment is, fear is the problem, courage is the solution, and confidence is the reward.
I love it. Is that under 2 minutes?
We are under 2 minutes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. And we will meet again.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we could have gone for 2 more hours.
We could have gone. I could talk with you all day. We've got a lot in common and we're on the same mission.
Thank you so much for joining all of us today. And
thank you for having me.
It was amazing. So till next time.
See you next time. I hope you'll have me back again, Yvonne. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.